Welcome once again to the Sage, and thank you for being with us. Last week, for those of you who were with us last week, you will remember that we stressed the importance of farming vegetables, plants at this time as a very, very important solution and contribution to the food scarcity in this country at this time. And we made the very, very strong point that farming is what everybody can do. Farming is what every family should do. You cannot you cannot just fold your hands and do nothing when there's so much hunger, when the kids are hungry. We can all farm. It doesn't matter where we find ourselves. It doesn't matter how much space we have. And so this week, we again welcome our guests, our experts on the panel, on the set, Blaze and Oge, who were with us last week as they continue this very, very important discussion. So they have spoken passionately about farming. What do you suggest? What should people farm? Should people try doing? Despite perhaps even limited space where they are, what would be in your opinion, things you suggest they look at?
Okay, I have my garden. I call it a container. I do container gardening. That's what I call my garden, because if you walk into my garden, you see containers, you see pots, you see tires. Basically, that is what I use to garden or farm. So vegetables that they could easily grow, you have your ugu, you have shoko, you have green, that's efo, you have water leaf, ewedu, the jute. The jute is the English name for ewedu, so it's actually the same thing.
English name for?
Ewedu.
Okay.
Jute, yeah. Scent leaf. You can even grow fruit trees.
Scent leaf is in chow.
Yes, in chow. Okay. Bananas, plantain. I have banana and plantain in my garden. I have pawpaw.
You can do those in small spaces as well?
Yes, you can. Okay. You can do that in small spaces as well. You can do, you can actually grow plantain in a container, but it will have to be a big drum. But it's doable. I've done it before, so it's actually doable. That's why I can tell you that you can do it. It's doable. Then you could also spruce up your garden with ornamentals. You don't just have to do an edible garden. You could spruce it up with ornamentals. Ornamentals also benefit your edible plants.
Really?
Example,
how?
Marigolds. Marigolds are good at, I could call them a pesticide of some sort, because the pests that would normally go to your leaves, to chew on your leaves, would rather go to the marigold. So in that way, it distracts the pests from eating up your vegetables. Mm-hmm. So you could do marigolds. They are annuals, but the good thing is once they die, the seeds drop and they sprout up again. So, yeah. I'm not sure.
That's interesting. Blaze, what about you? What do you recommend?
Yeah, well, I would not say I'm a professional. I think for me, it's more passion. And but I asked myself this same question before I started, like, what should you grow? And I said to myself, what do you need?
That's a very important thing. What should you grow? What do you need? When you decide what you need, then yeah.
And I made a mental list of the things that I would need. And I said, what are those? Okra, pepper, tomato, carrots, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and all of those things. So
Brussels sprouts?
Yeah, so I just planted some now, and this morning I saw that like some of them are sprouting, so with time I will know which is which. But again, those are some of the things that I feel anybody can have around the house, and the seeds are actually readily available. You don't need to stress yourself. Once you put them in the ground and they sprout and you give them the needed attention, they will always grow. So again, I think what anybody should plant should actually be answered by that person to say, what are those immediate vegetables I need in the house? That would actually help to guide you on what to plant. But the truth is, you can actually plant most of the vegetables we need around the house.
let me re-emphasize and echo that, because I agree, with both of you very much, particularly with this last point. That I think for this situation we're in, and for what we're advocating to our fellow Nigerians, is that we are blessed indeed that most of the staples in terms of vegetables that we use for our cooking can actually be very easily grown.
Yeah.
Name them, any of them. Ugu, water leaf. Water leaf acts like a weed. As it's growing and you're harvesting, the seeds are falling and it's sprouting up again by itself. So does what you call scent leaf.
Yes.
That one is actually a terrible weed. You put it in your garden and it overtakes everything else. It spreads everywhere. So many of our ugu actually also can, in a way, regenerate. Let it produce the pods, which you put back into the ground.
Yes.
Bitter leaf, my goodness, that's another one that's a perennial. Once you trim it regularly, it will produce lush leaves for you. That's, the ugu I have is the ugu I feed on in this house. I never really need to go to the market for that. It's enough for my domestic needs. And so we are blessed with that. And I want to make that point, that for the routine vegetables we cook with, I don't know any that is not easily growable. And so that is the challenge we throw out to every family watching. Begin to grow your own vegetables. I grew up in a home in which my mother hardly ever went to the market for any vegetable. All these neat, routine, local vegetables were harvested from our garden. In those days, mothers assumed you needed a garden. We had plenty of land and it was done in a garden. But I think the new insights we're bringing into it, which is exciting, is the fact that we are doing containers effectively now. In those days, they didn't necessarily do container farming. They just thought you needed plots of land to do it. But we're saying that we have now experimented with containers and that it can all be done in containers as well. You just need different sizes. We shall be demonstrating that a bit in the later part of this show. And so, yes, again, our local vegetables are all very, very growable. But also, some more esoteric ones too. Oge in particular, I have mobilized in doing that. I have grown kale, for my own personal consumption. Plenty, both of us have worked at it. We can do kale, you can do basil, you can do thyme, you can do spinach, you can do rosemary.
Yeah.
There's so many of the herbs as well can be grown. So that you don't even need to go to the market to be paying a lot to buy all the thyme that they put in their bottle. You can grow sage. You can grow all of them. And believe me, the aroma of your naturally grown herbs are something else.
Yes, because you don't use pesticides or insecticides on it. They're organic. So organic farming is another advantage of growing your own vegetables, because you know what goes into it.
Yes.
Most of the vegetables we buy from the market, you don't know what has been sprayed on it.
Yeah.
You don't know the chemicals that have been sprayed on. So you know you're eating premium quality organic vegetables when you garden.
So, we can grow practically everything we need. I think that's the point we're all making.
Yes.
And what we're saying to our audience, we can grow practically everything we need if we put enough attention to it and do it properly. We do not have to go to market for those routine things.
Yes.
I am now going to move on to perhaps the bottom line, the crucial question: how? We say that with certainty, those of us who have a passion and in a way have become experts, but we're saying to our families out there, you can also grow. But people grow when they're empowered with the knowledge and the technique. So I throw it back to you. How? How should they grow? What are the mechanisms? What should they be on the lookout for? Let's start perhaps with a container, but you can start anywhere you want.
Okay. I think the first place is knowing, like you said, you need to know what you need.
Yeah.
When you know what you want to grow, you go ahead by getting the seeds, viable seeds that you
Where
want
do we
to grow.
get seeds from?
You could get from the market. That's for vegetables. You can actually get from the market. The some ugu sellers actually have the pods, the ugu pods. So you just tell them you want to buy the seeds. You buy. Then there are some malams in the market that you can buy, like shoko seeds from. You can buy F4 seeds from. You can even buy ewedu seeds from. So just tell them you want to buy seeds. It's as simple as that. Or if you want to go for something more exotic, if you want to like grow herbs, you could maybe go to supermarkets. Like I don't know if I'm allowed to mention names of supermarkets you could get them from. If I'm allowed to, I'll go ahead. But basically, you could just walk into any supermarket, go to their gardening section, and pick up seeds that you want to plant. Bring them home. A tip I use is using hydrogen peroxide to start my seeds. In the sense that I pour a little bit of water in a bowl. The bowls are labeled. That is, if you're planting different seeds, you need to make sure you label your bowl so that you know what is what. A little bit of water, then half a cup of hydrogen peroxide, and then you put your seeds and leave them overnight. Sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you already see that the seeds are already sprouting.
I noticed that recently, yeah.
See that the seeds have already sprouted, and then you go ahead and plant them into your ready containers. That's when I mean ready has the soil inside, and you just plant it inside and sprinkle it with a little bit of soil on top of it, and then water.
Soil. So if I go to the beach and I grab some soil, it's gonna work?
No.
So tell us, that soil is very important.
Okay, you can buy soil and also buy manure and then mix. For some people that say, oh, how do I go about buying soil? You could meet some gardeners. Gardeners sell soil, and gardeners also sell manure. If they don't have, for those people that have security guards or maid guards, you can tell your maid guard, give him money, help me buy manure, bring it back home, pour your soil on the floor, pour your manure on the floor, and just mix it, even if you don't have a shovel. Because someone might say, oh, the excuse of I don't have a shovel to mix. You could use a bowl and basically just mix. Make sure that everything is incorporated, and then put them in your already perforated containers. That's another thing. You need to make sure that your containers have holes so that when you water, it has an drainage. Yes, because if it doesn't drain, the seeds die and the plants die. So
very important. Perforated containers that are able to drain,
yes,
so that your plants and your seedlings are not waterlogged and don't die.
Yes.
Okay, very important. And I like that tip about hydrogen peroxide, because we need to get rid of the bacteria that is going to fight with us to destroy the seeds, you know,
Yes.
so that they are in a relatively sterile environment in which they are able to thrive and grow.
Yes.
What about you, Blaze? There's still a lot to discuss here, but let's add, you know.
Yeah, okay. I just learned something, the hydrogen thing. I've been trying to plant bell pepper now. I've planted like 3 times and I've still not gotten it. So probably I'll try this method and see.
Yeah, you could try that. And another thing is, when you put them in soil, you could use a cling film. Okay, I do container gardening. So another thing you can do is, instead of starting them directly on the ground, start them in containers.
Okay, then
use a cling film to cover it, so it has a bit of warmth, bit of heat that will force it to sprout out. But the cling film, you just make a bit of holes on top of it, in between it, so it should do well.
And then transplant when it has when it has close to 3 to 4 leaves on it.
Okay. Then you can transplant.
Well, I'll take you up on that. But for me, it was just when I moved in, I saw that the perimeter of the fence, there was even cement around and everything, and I knew this was not going to work. So I dug out that portion around the fence, dug everything out, and I went to get my own manure. I got composite and I mixed them together. I'm quite adventurous with stuff like that, so I want to do everything myself. So I went to where I felt the soil was loamy enough, and I got composite from somebody who raises chicken in the estate, and I mixed it. So I just put it where I wanted it, that perimeter where I wanted it, round in front of the house, and I planted what I planted. So if you really, really want to farm, there are so many things beyond the container. You can use expired tires. You can just line them by the side of the house and plant inside them.
So
just
you put the soil
after
in
preparing
there.
your soil.
I know Oge does that too. Put soil.
Yeah.
But it's
inside.
still called container garden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still container garden. So
container.
you could plant in stuff like that.
I want us to dwell a bit more on this issue of containers because, the fact that there's so many containers, it's versatile. There's so many containers people can use. You can use paint cans.
Yeah.
Discarded. You
Buckets.
can use them. You can use barrels. Some people will even construct wooden beds.
Yes.
With wood. You can use plastic bottles, water bottles that you've been drinking
Or
with.
your empty oil.
The empty
pipes.
Yes.
or the empty oil
Yes,
jerry
yes.
cans.
Them open and-
Practically every container, whether plastic or wood or even metal, can be
Used.
it can be used.
Yeah.
Just make sure it can drain. That whatever you're using, it can drain. And when it comes to space, another thing that's exciting is that don't think because you don't have you may not have ground space, but you have walls.
Yes.
You hit on
You
your
can
walls.
hang the containers on the walls and they will grow.
Yes. A friend is growing tomato now in a container he hung on the wall. Mary's husband, he's growing tomato and they are hung on the wall there. They are growing invertedly, so the tomato is coming out from the tip of the container and it's growing upwards. So there's so many ways to go about this if really, really you're passionate about it and you see the need to grow what you eat. I think it's something everybody can do.
So much so. I mean, spring onions, for instance, you can buy your onions and use them to begin to produce spring onions.
Yes.
Just by putting them in a little container and they are generating, stalks which you can keep cutting. That's already food on the table. We're talking about things you make your salads with. I went into the shop to buy salad stuff and I bought bell peppers, like about 7 or 8 maximum in that pack, and they charged me 5,000 naira. These are things you can grow. You can grow easily. Just have a little patience. In a month or two, you're harvesting your own, you're eating, so that one can grow within little space enough for your vegetable needs, your salads and so on, and saving thousands and thousands of naira in doing so. But also very organically grown, fresh. You're sure there are no pesticides on it and so on, and so a great deal more healthy, and so all round good. So that it's organic, you're sure there are no pesticides. You're sure it's been safely grown, and therefore it's a great deal more nutritious now and in the long term. So and we'll talk about convenience. We haven't talked about the fact that you just nip into your garden, get it, and you're not sending somebody to the market. I mean, there's so many.
And that joy of even picking it.
Yes.
I like to pick it myself. I don't want anybody to pick it for me.
I am the only one allowed to pick my own. When they're mature and ready for picking, I don't allow anybody picking.
There's a joy in that. Apart from growing it, there's also that joy that you go and you harvest and you look at it, and there is that conviction that comes to you, like, man, you're a co-creator. Like, God, for me, that's how I feel at times.
I love that term, co-creating.
Yeah, because this is magic. Really,
but wasn't that what God said to us?
Yes. So at times he
grow,
So it takes us back. For me, those are the kind of understanding I get from doing, these things. The fact that I'm beginning to understand God more in doing this, really, because if God said, his image, I don't think it's because my nose looks like that of God or my face or all of that. I think it's because I can do things that God too can do, not on that level of saying I'm a God, but there are limits to what I can do. But there are some things he actually has given me power to do, like growing seeds. He said, go out there and multiply. How do you multiply if you don't plant?
Yeah.
So for me, those are the things, that comes to mind. And again, if you had seen how vegetable is transported to the market at times, you want to grow your own.
Now you've said something that triggered something in my mind. When we talk about the environment, the world and the climate change is a huge problem. But some of that, in a way, you might think it is small. We are contributing to reducing the effect of climate change by growing, by planting.
Carbon credits.
Yes. It is all this turning everywhere into cement yards and so on, and not growing plants that are busy emitting carbon oxygen that it reducing. So that is like when we talk about nature, that is what God meant. We were meant to co-create.
Yes.
We were meant to plant and grow. It was to be a cycle. We were not meant to turn everywhere into an urban city. Skyscrapers and so on. And so we are indeed obeying the divine injunction. And in doing that, we are feeding ourselves, growing our families, and so on. But towards later, as we wind up on this, we will talk about the sheer joy and spiritual. I know two of you share it with me. That begins to be a beautiful, shall I call it, side effect of farming, of growing things. So yes, there's still so much to discuss, to talk about, and yet I have to stop here for this episode because of the time we have, and say to our viewers, so we've discussed growing things, farming, why it's important. We've discussed how to do it, containers and the kinds of vegetables and so on that can be grown, but we need to share more about the tips of doing it safely, the techniques of doing it so that you succeed. We cannot do it in this episode, and so we turn to our guest and say there's still a lot more important information to be imparted. So do be with us. They will still be here. They will not run away. They will continue to discuss with us next week. And so do tune in next week as we go ahead to discuss some more of the hows to do, and also highlight the risks, the dangers you need to be aware of and avert, so that your precious grown vegetables are not taken over by other inhabitants of this earth. And so thank you very much once again for being with us, and do join us next week as we conclude on this enthralling topic. Thank you. Begin before you come next week to gather your own pots and pans and cans, to look at your compound with a new eye and begin to figure out where are you going to start your growing. Do write in and ask for advice if you need it. My experts will willingly respond. So please, our address is on the screen. Write if you want more detailed advice and support. But get ready so that we embark on this nutritious journey together. Thank you. See you next week.